Put another way.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Idle Zone Syndicate podcast, streamcast, chat, whatever you want to call it. Well, there's Jack right off the bat. What's up, Jack Graves?
Baby edition,
It's the baby edition.
Baby edition.
the newborn
Well,
edition.
Let's lead off with that.
Okay.
Congratulations, Grandpa.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Not going to share a whole bunch of detail right now because you know what I realized is, one, the kids reminded everyone that they would prefer to do their posting and announcing before the grandparents do. And you know what? That's not my post to make.
True.
It's not my announcement. Now I'm gonna scream it from the rooftop. Don't think I'm not going to. Hey, Dennis Buck. Long story short, it's been we've been on grandbaby watch since last week with Maddie Wong, and I shared that with Maddie last week a little bit before we went on, and today, 10:07 a.m., our third granddaughter was delivered into the grand world, and she's a beautiful thing and healthy, and everybody's cool in the gang. I'm gonna tell you that Maddie is tougher than boot leather. That's all there is to it. You know, up until last week, she was taking all the double shifts. She's a nurse, and she was taking double shifts to throw in the bank while she's on maternity leave. She was doing that right up until just a few days ago. So, way tougher than me. Good night. But yeah, everybody's cool. And the best part, nobody won the pot, did they?
Nobody won the pot. I see Jack said I'll pay my dues, but nobody picked the sixth.
Nobody picked the sixth.
I got the time right. I just want to remind you guys that.
Nice job.
What time was it?
10 o'clock. I chose 10 o'clock. I was stuck.
He took 10 o'clock. It was 10:07.
You did say 10. I think I got written down here that I said 10:06.
Nice. Nice.
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I said 9 a.m.
Oh, goodness.
Travis had 4 p.m. yesterday, which we thought might have been possible.
Yeah. I almost wish that I'd gone on to school and been a doctor just so I could impose my schedule on people's lives.
Yeah, think how much money we could have won in the pot.
Really?
If you were the doctor that actually did the inducing.
Exactly.
And you knew the outcome.
I mean, I offered to do a C-section because I stood right beside the doctor when Connor was born, and I'm like right here like this. Oh yeah, wow. I feel like I could do it, honestly.
Yeah, I think so.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I'm saying there was a damn good chance. We'd have knocked that out.
Dude, you guys are bringing back some serious memories from a couple years ago, man. It was incredible.
So I'm going to ask, because our other granddaughters are 10 and 8. Now, 10 and 8, they didn't gender reveal parties where you just didn't hear about that much, and the co-ed baby showers, and all that stuff that's kind of been in the last what 4 or 5 years maybe. Did
Mhm.
you guys do that, Kyle?
I
Did you
would
have
say Max is 6, and I'd say we did some fun stuff when Emily was pregnant with him for sure. Gender reveal, um, yes, the baby shower, normal baby shower stuff, yeah. The gender reveal deal
It's
for my
just like forward facing sonar. I mean, it's exactly like forward facing sonar.
honestly, it's just another excuse to have a beer and enjoy one another, really.
I mean, whatever happened to just learning when it popped out?
The element of surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Why do you have to see everything, you youngsters? Why do you have to see everything? Watch it, bite, and have it know everything ahead of time. Why?
Oh goodness.
When your wife's not necessarily set up to have natural stuff go on, and so you got to do it by surgery, everything's planned. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah.
So down to
my two boys, that it was that way. We just like, well, in Wendy's case, they're like, I don't think this is going to work. We're going to need to go another direction, So, and it didn't affect Connor. You can't really tell a difference in him other than, when he leaves the house, he goes out through the window instead of the door.
I'm taking that from you, bub. That's great. Oh, goodness.
Oh, Moody's a changed man, he says.
You're not scoping, you're hoping.
Whatever.
So I guess since this is baby edition and I technically still have the floor.
Technically,
Dominic was going to join us tonight. Dominic is under the weather, and dude, we'll get you back anytime you want to come. Unless we have a better guest, then you'll have to wait.
I got one. He is on his way.
Oh my.
Okay.
The threat is on. The threat is on. So it's fixing to be an interesting, 10 or 15 minutes here in just a little bit.
Cool.
I do have a secondary special guest. And he was quick to actually say, yeah, sure. So, here in just a little bit, we'll be there.
He's got to stop and get in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Swim a lap.
All right. Oh, thank you, Kevin. Kevin Miller says congratulations. Man, did you guys see Kevin's fish he caught at St. Clair last week?
I didn't. I couldn't take my eyes off the picture, the other picture, the no shirt thing. I mean, I really didn't even notice the fish.
The special guest is entering the building.
Oh dear.
But yes, I did see the fish. Yeah.
Kevin, what'd you say you had that day? About 22? We'll see in the comments in a little bit, I'm sure. And Jack, we will circle back to you. Yeah, yes, I have some ideas for that for you.
Are you guys ready?
We're ready.
Ready for the special guest?
I feel like we should have a new beginning just for him.
just go ahead and cue the music.
Music
I
again.
can't cue the music again. We can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
For this special guest.
Oh boy. We need a booster seat.
Hi.
Let's cue the music up for you, bud.
That's the only big fish I've caught in the last 10 years. That's why we have that picture.
What do I do?
And we're back
There we are.
with the bug-eyed Max.
What up, Max?
Hey.
Max, the hot dog vendor.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
So the just FYI, listeners, this is my 6-year-old son, Max. He's an amateur fisherman, professional swimmer. So we spend a little bit of time in the boat together. We swim a little bit, we fish a little bit, and we have fun, right? Bub?
Yeah.
So what's Danny and John, they want to know, how much fun is it to go fishing?
Lots of
Do you
fun.
have a good time?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's lots of fun.
Okay. And what's your favorite fishing story? Can you tell them?
It's whenever I catch my first fish.
Mm.
And where was that?
You remember? Was it Farmington?
It was at Arlington.
I know that place.
What'd you catch it on? Even though you're not. Remember, I told you you're not supposed to tell everybody what you catch fish on. The secret. Huh?
Yeah.
What'd you catch your first fish on? Do you remember?
So I got it. So I got my lure stuck in the tree, and I jiggled it, and then a fish, and then I got down, and then the fish just bited it, and then I was like,
What kind of fish was it?
I don't know. It was a bass.
A bass. How big was it? Probably bigger than anything your dad's caught this year. Wow. It's a good one.
Yeah. Ain't that something?
That's awesome. What kind of lure was it? Yeah, I know you caught it in the tree, but what kind of lure was it?
I don't know. I forgot.
Was it a willow-bladed spinnerbait?
Spinnerbait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What time of year was it? Was that early in the year? Was that summertime?
We went out in the. We like to go out when it's a little bit cooler. It was a little bit earlier this early summer, I would say, late spring. Farlington's got some shoreline grass and some pretty nice overhanging trees and a few boat docks. And we like to go out there and just kind of piddle around a little bit. And, it's a good lake to throw a spinnerbait and, frog and just have fun. It's a good little fun lake. Fort Scott's kind of the same way. I think Fort Scott may be just a little bit better fishing, honestly. But, Farlington really doesn't get a whole heck of a lot of pressure, really. It's not a real big lake or anything, 300 acres, something like that. But you just put the trolling motor down right there at the boat ramp, just go fishing. We actually Max caught that fish just right across from the boat ramp. So, just keep it simple and go fishing, really. Chuck and wind, right, bub?
Yeah.
So something else I wanted you to tell the crowd is, how do you practice fishing? Can you tell them how we practiced all winter to get you better at casting?
So I'm on my dad's boat, and I have my fishing rod, and I cast it, but I try not to hit his truck or anything.
Good.
Does he
This
say bad words?
It's in the garage.
And what happens if you hit it?
I'll make a den.
Oh,
It's called you get a whooping. That's what it's called.
And I sometimes my goal is to land it in the trash can because I make believe the trash can's a bass.
yeah, that's good.
Right?
I do that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's good practicing. Yeah.
It is good practicing.
Sometimes the trash can gets put on one side of the shop, and we take a 5-gallon bucket, and we put it on the other side, right? And we practice hitting more than one target.
Yeah.
And that's how you get better at casting and pitching and flipping and all the fun stuff, right?
Yeah, and I also make it outside on my dad's garage door.
Okay. Nice. Do you throw a bait caster?
And I also have my own tackle box.
Nice. What's your favorite lure to throw?
Froggy!
A frog?
Kermie.
Kermie.
Kermie the Frog.
You know, there's just something about something getting twitched across the surface that just completely makes both of us extremely excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite lake to fish? And don't worry, I'm not holding you to it. You can say any lake you want. What's your favorite lake to go fishing at?
Big Hill.
So we're not partial or anything. But
Why do you like Big Hill?
Because it has more space. It's not like a small pond. It has like more space for you to fish at.
More spots to choose from? Yeah, that makes sense.
And it has a lot of fish.
Yeah.
And my first fish that I really want to catch that my dad always catches, I'm trying to catch a walleye.
A walleye. Yeah. He's a pretty good walleye fisherman.
one of them toothy critters.
And I like it. I like it.
They taste delicious, don't they?
My dad caught one and I was like, yummy. I'm going to eat it all.
He's going to need his own show.
Yeah.
Possibly. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Hey, Max. When you fish with your dad, does he ever lose a fish? Won't ever get off his line?
Sometimes, but not
Does he say bad words?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. You're welcome. You're welcome, Kyle.
Appreciate that. But we like to have a lot of fun, don't we, Bub?
My dad also catched a flathead while I was swimming around the boat.
Wow.
Yeah, it got a little warm that day. We was out there and just decided to beach the boat, and I was trying to pluck some smallmouth off this little pea gravel point there at the lake, and decided to put a Ned rig on, and
It worked out.
tossed the Ned rig out by that creek channel and just kind of let it sit on the bottom a little bit, and it went thump. And when I reared back with that spinning rod, it was like, I don't think this is a smallmouth or a largemouth, and it just. We both had to get in the boat and troll around and chase the fish because it just swam wherever it wanted. But we got it in, didn't we, Bub? We actually fried it up and ate it, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, because it was hard to catch. It was pretty hard to lure it. Like it was like going all over the place with it.
He was pulling you around, huh?
Do you wear your life jacket the entire time you're out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah.
Good man.
Do you know how to swim?
Yeah.
Kinda.
I like it. I know how to swim a lot.
And
Hey, you take swimming lessons this year?
I already passed them.
You passed them. What do you get when you pass them? You get like a star or something?
No.
Nothing?
Yeah, because you got to learn how to be safe and don't get awards.
Yeah.
just get a pat on the back.
Pat on the back.
Thanks for coming to swim lessons.
You go off the high dive?
Yeah.
You do?
Trying to learn how to dive.
Hmm.
I know one part how to dive, but I don't know the other parts.
Yeah. Then the shallower area.
Yeah.
We're almost there, aren't we, Bub?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Just 2 parts away.
Yeah. Nice. How old are you?
6.
Yeah, you're the same age as my grandson. He's a swimmer too. He's a fish. He's a little fish in the water.
So, you guys get to meet Max George.
It was nice meeting Max. You know Mr. Mark Moody, Max?
You don't know him? I
you
wouldn't
don't-
either. I wouldn't admit that I knew Mark Moody.
He's calling you out, I think. He said,
Yeah.
"Hey Max, you want some of this?"
He actually is kind of calling you out a little bit, literally. Yeah, they go round and round and round and round when they get in the shop. I'm telling you, them two's like Moody's a 60-year-old 6-year-old when he gets
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yep. So, you good, Bub?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Thanks
for coming on the show.
I'll be back whenever we have another podcast.
Okay.
Cool. Hey, we got to have Nux right here, buddy. Oh, you're already down.
What?
Give me some Nux.
Virtual Nux.
There we go. Later, man.
The next podcast.
Yeah.
And that was very special guest Max.
All right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
He's ornery.
He's full of it.
Gets that from his mother's side, does he?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what I thought.
And that's the best part. That's what keeps us young.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, speaking of Mark Moody, I saw a little something where some old boys went to Stockton, maybe grabbed a 4th place the other day.
Yeah. Yeah, just, Mark fishes the Joe Bass on Stockton regularly with a guy, Chad Allison. Chad wasn't able to make it. He had asked me, a couple weeks ago if I'd be interested in filling in. I said, sure. I hadn't been to Stockton in quite some time, so I kind of knew what to expect. I knew it was tough, and for some reason the fishing over there has just kind of been ugly. I don't really know what other term to use. It's, if you catch a 5-pounder over there, you've done something. Hell, if you caught a 3.5-pounder over there, you've done something, to be honest. The water's kind of been up for a little bit, and it's gotten back down to close to normal. The shad are there, the brim, the perch are up where they should be. The fishing's just tough over there, and you talk to everybody, and the weights have been extremely tight. Mark's been over there here and there, just kind of putting his time in. You know, they had good success in the Summer Bass Brawl a couple weeks ago. They won the weekend prior, and so yeah, Sunday we just put the boat in and went about 10 miles, and just kind of started bouncing around on rock and more rock, and just caught a fish here, caught a fish there. I mean, we pulled up on one spot and had a couple of keepers, just bam, bam, but I mean, just the size of fish just isn't there, which everybody's fishing for 12 and a half, 13 pounds, to be honest. I mean, 13 and some change won. Chris Macy and Tim Lawyer. Tim Lawyer's Jeremy Lawyer's younger brother, and Chris Macy's a BFL All-American. I mean, they're pretty darn good fishermen. They kind of had the same luck. I mean, just what they do? They said they caught them on a jig in about 15 foot of water out of brush, which I'm sure they were fishing some brush piles and some rock structures. And you guys are familiar with Stockton. You know how many different pieces of concrete if you wanted to just be on a concrete pattern, you could go fish concrete all day, or rock formations or whatever. So the offshore structure is there. It's where's the fish? We just, we had a couple of fish. We had a couple of fish kind of act funny on us. So we did the right thing and threw them back. I think that probably cost us maybe third place, if not second. But we didn't really want to weigh in a dead fish very badly. There is a dead fish penalty in it. It's not, I think it's a half a pound per fish or whatnot. Both me and him just agreed that we didn't want to weigh in dead ones, so we kicked them back. Summer transition, man, it's fixing. The water cools down 5 degrees. It's going to be kind of stupid over there, I think. I think there's going to be some shallow water stuff really start to happen, which is kind of cool. Stockton's notoriously good for a really good square bill, 1- spinnerbait, buzz bait, topwater kind of deal, plopper, that kind of deal. It's going to be awfully quick, in my opinion. The shad are in the right spots. I mean, some of the shad are already there. Backs of pockets already got shad in them. Some of the flatter points already have shad on top of them. You get the right day, kind of like Grand in that Future Bass tournament a couple weeks ago. It felt like a September day at Grand a couple weeks ago. And the fish went from docks and suspended and blah, blah, blah to, I think the guy I knew did pretty decent. He caught him on a plopper on the bank because he took advantage of the day. And it was kind of a cool, rainy September day in July. I think he just took advantage of the day. Those fish slid up there, was eating shad and perch and whatever else, and they got shallow in a hurry. It didn't take very long. So yeah, we had a good time. It was hot.
It's hot.
We drank every drink we had in the boat. We went through 80 pounds of ice. We went through 80 pounds of ice between live wells and the cooler. But we did it. We made it back to the house in one piece and without a heat stroke. So all is good.
That's good.
Awesome.
Y'all did good.
Worm fishing 101. It's fun, kind of not necessarily used to just dragging a worm around, but it was a good time.
Oh, you said spinnerbait and you got Chris Johnson's attention. He's commented over there.
Well,
Chris,
I can't see the comments actually.
what'd you do?
Yes. Chris Johnson, I did say a spinnerbait bite. I mean, it's on the verge, I think. I know September is a tough month, but I mean, one of the best fish catchers that stood the test of time is a spinnerbait. I think everybody can agree on that. Especially if you find a little bit of colored water.
Yep. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Did you fish anything this weekend, John?
I fished Saturday night and maybe had the worst night of fishing I've had in years. I don't know. I did not have any fun Saturday night. It's one of those times. I'm fine with not catching any fish. I caught I didn't even catch a keeper. And I caught one little fish. And I'm fine with not catching any fish. I'm the type of guy that if they're not biting, they're not biting. I'm fine with that. But if I fish bad, like I backlash every other cast and I throw it hit the dock and I square up every cable, and I am very hard on myself and I do not enjoy it. And that was the kind of night I had. It was one of those nights where you know how you can fish all day and not get hung up once. It's like everything comes through and then you can go down a stretch and you get hung up every cast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm
get
like,
it.
What's the difference? And, and it was one of those nights where I had 10 rods laying on the deck. And by the end of the night, there was not one single bait left tied on. Like I would just get to the point where like it would get hung up and I wouldn't even try to get it out. And I'm like, when I run out of baits, I'm out of here. I broke my last one off about 12:25 and it ended at 12:30 and I was like done.
You know what, John? You know what Gerald Swindle said one time about that having a bad day deal? He said, if you wake up in the morning and backlash the toilet paper, don't even go.
Right. I did not fish Monday. I don't know if Brandon's on here. I don't know what it took. It took 14 pounds to win Saturday night. 3 fish. 10 pounds was second. 10 pounds was third. Here I am rolling up to the dock, got no baits left on any of my rods. And I got some guy next to me said, oh, it was tough. We caught 3-pounder after 3-pounder, but we couldn't catch a good one. And I'm like, whatever, dude.
Welcome to Grand Lake, John Stewart.
Whatever, dude. I'm out of here.
Hey,
I hadn't had a day like that, I can't remember. I haven't had a day like that on Grand since we've been here, since we've moved back here.
I tried to warn you.
It was just bad. I gotta fish somewhere different. I've been fishing all the same crap, and trying to make it work. And next time I fish will be somewhere else on the lake. But anyway, I'm not fishing down anything for a couple weeks because I'm going to Iowa Friday and straight from Iowa to Wilson and then home. So I need to go catch some fish. So I'm going to Iowa.
Dude, it's not an easy task when it comes to be August. I mean, Grand Lake's kind of a tough bite. 4-state areas, it's got a lot of good lakes in it, but August kind of until about that middle of September, it kind of gets a little stingy around the house.
Yeah, it's kind of that way everywhere, I think.
Yep.
But
I don't know if you guys have the exact answer for why it is. But I mean, if you're, I guess it's like anything. If you're on them, you're on them. But I'll be honest with you, I'm glad there's not a pile of tournaments this time of year, because I have a tendency to suck. So
I know they're catching them deep, and a lot of guys are catching them on the flutter spoon. I know they're doing that. I know that deal's going on right now, which I'm not going to do. I was at Honey Creek the other day buying Carolina rig shallow stuff, and the guy right in front of me was buying 3 flutter spoons. So 2 complete opposite.
they get suspended and they get stupid.
Yeah.
Moody actually is, well, his wife reminds me of that saying now, but he's like, they're just in the looking up stage. I said, just stop. They're not looking up, they're looking down because they're suspended. They're just in the looking up stage. He tells me that all the time when they start getting suspended and getting stupid.
I don't know.
It's just like Stockton Sunday, for example. We're fishing a ledge with a worm, and I'm not casting in the river channel. I'm casting on top of the ledge, And there's shad in this section of the river we fish. Generally speaking, there's shad, they're up there. They're present. They're somewhere. Sunday, they were kind of off the river ledge a little bit, out in no man's land. Guess what starts happening? Kaploosh. And you turn around, and it's a freaking nice one. And he's got a mouthful of little 1.5 inch shad, and he's happy as a camper. I'm like, dude, you need to go to your house. Go find this big rock right over here so I can catch you. Because if you're going to be out there, I am not going to Jacob Wheeler you with a minnow. I'm sorry. It's not my style.
Mm-hmm. Me neither.
Pros, they'd had that fish caught in about 20 minutes,
Yeah.
And Danny.
Yes.
I think your fishing success may hinge on my mechanical success tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly will.
Your partner in crime, I believe, is dropping his boat off to have some steering seals installed.
Yeah. For some reason, Brad does not want to, put the boat on plane and then not be able to steer. And
that sucks.
I mean, I feel like it's, he's probably right.
Yeah.
He said at the Stone tournament, it was just a little bit sketchy.
There was a time or two. Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't feel good when that's happened to me. And I replaced them, and I must have got some bad ones because about 2 trips later, the same thing happened, and I replaced them again, and it's been fine ever since. But
he's headed this direction tomorrow, and he's going to have it dropped off. I told him I'll have it fixed by 9:00 tomorrow night. So he said he told me who he was partnering with for the team series coming up on Wilson.
Well, there's Bad Brad. Looky there. Right over there on the side. A Skeeter without steering would look like his air spook. Yeah. It would.
But one of their biggest ads, one of Skeeter's biggest things they always bragged about was how they could turn on a dime.
Yeah, they can.
Without flipping over or whatever. I can remember the Grand Challenge. They took it if you if you wanted in on the boat draw or something, you had to go take a demo ride, and they'd run you out towards Sailboat Bridge if wide open, and just go to cranking on that steering wheel, and that sucker would just go like that and turn back around and go the other way. I did it once, never do it again.
When Brett was 10 years old, we had a club tournament at Birch Lake. And Brett and I went down to pre-fish the weekend before. It was middle of hot summer. And so we were on our way back to the beach like midday to cool off. And I had a Skeeter 190. No. I don't remember what it was. It was a 180 or a 190. I think it was a 190. Anyway, didn't have hydraulic steering on it, but it was that early in my career. And so, it was, you had to freaking hang on to the steering wheel. And I didn't have a hot foot. I had a friggin' throttle. And so we're running back to the beach, and we get about halfway back, and there's a inner tube floating in the middle of the lake. So we stop and pick it up. We're going swimming, so we'll just take it to the beach. So I put it down in the floorboard. I had a dual console. Put it down in the floorboard between the consoles, and we're running back. And I'm doing probably, 60. And one hand on the wheel, one hand on the throttle, and that inner tube breaks loose and goes blowing, out between us.
Oh,
and my instinct was to reach up and grab it. Well, when I did, I let go of the steering wheel with my one hand, and the boat just spun. And Brett spun this way, and Brett was on his way out of the boat. And my hand was already up there reaching for this inner tube, and I grabbed his back of his life jacket and set him back down in the seat. And that was a scary deal there.
Well, the best part about it was he didn't take a drink.
It turned on a dime.
He didn't take a drink, did he?
No, he didn't.
Win's a win.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was a crazy one.
I've seen Brian Failer turn his on a dime before. It may have been for a wrong reason, but he's turned his boat on a dime a time or two right in front of me.
Yeah.
Come around the corner. If you're fishing a spot he wanted to fish on, you can hear some choice words and back around the other way he'd go. They'll do it.
Man, it is. It's the lazy dog days of summer, isn't it?
Yep.
We can't even keep the fishing conversation going.
No. I mean, you had some good news this week. You got the full field not a full field, but enough anglers signed up on the team series that
absolutely
we'll have I guess that means we'll have a champion going to the Bass Team Championship.
Yes, indeed. On the Washita River in Monroe.
Yep.
I'd go back to Monroe just to go to Trapp's restaurant.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Evan, nobody's going to win the baby pot because nobody took August 6th. So,
yep, everybody can keep their money. Or or you can send it to Connor and Maddie if you want.
I think that'd be a great idea.
I
Having-
wonder.
Having a newborn might just be a little bit of a life
We
change.
get a PayPal. Can we get some PayPal info? Or not PayPal, Venmo?
Yes, please.
Who? Me?
Or
What?
an address.
For Connor, or an address.
Moody? Well, then stay off one of them because Brad and I need one. Let's see.
I will be right back. I hear a noise outside.
You hear a noise?
Yeah, I'll be right back.
He's crazy. What were you going to show us?
I was just going to be a doting grandpa and see if this worked, if I showed my picture on the webcam.
Did you get permission to do that?
I did not get permission to show the picture I took. So there's Connor B and little Renly May.
Nice. Connor looks scared to death.
He was.
But that's part of it.
Yeah, that's how I knew he was going to be fine.
Yep.
Tate says Bigfoot. What are you? Oh, it was Bigfoot was the noise. Yeah, well, that's very possible. I mean,
yeah, it is.
So is he like? Does he have another guest?
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing.
Did he run out of beer? Maybe he ran out of beer in the shop.
Maybe.
It's possible.
Yeah.
You know, guys, I wanted to back sometime tonight. So I'll just take this opportunity since Kyle stepped out of the way. Kind of backtrack just a little bit and give you a little bit of the backstory. As we mentioned, and this actually took place last week, July 30th was the 30th anniversary of Brian Kershaw winning the Classic. He was the only nation angler to ever do so. And we have been very blessed the last 2 weeks to have, we had Will Davis Jr. as the first guest, which is just knocked it out of the park because he's won the last 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
To go back to back. And then, last week we were blessed to have Matty Wong join us, and he's a past champion. And that's what we're going to do. They're not going to be every week. They're going to be staggered out. And the majority of the rest of the guys that, let's not lie, it's John that has scheduled them. The rest of the guests that have agreed to come on, they, and rightly so, want to do so after the Elite Series ends. So, you're talking into, September, October before we get some of these guys on. But I wanted to back up a little bit, talk about the BNC and explain the situation, explain the series and what we're trying to do with it. And just, if you missed live last week with Maddie, man, go back. All you got to do is scroll down the KBN page and it's still there. All of these lives will stay on the KBN page. I am eventually, and I've learned how to do it this week. Where you can watch them, download them, whatever. Where was I going with that?
Go back and watch them. Go back and
go back and watch them.
some of our old stuff. I mean, it's not
where I was
old.
going with that.
Relative.
Yeah, where I was going with that with Maddie last week. If you missed it live, scroll down, find it, and about, oh gosh, I'm going to say about 45 minutes in, it was just unbelievable.
It gets real.
He you totally felt and understood what that win meant to him.
The pressure.
And I don't think it was the win. I think it was the situation.
Yep. The whole life event, the pressure, the situation,
Yes.
the magnitude of what people like us, maybe not everyone, but people like us, something that you strive to do. Sorry to cut you off, Danny, but I mean, I'm the same way, man. It was incredible.
I bet you, and of course, some of it was in, figuring out how to move it to YouTube. But I bet you I have watched that, at least that 30-minute stretch of that interview 10 times.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a hell of a storyteller too, by the way. I mean,
And that's where
it was pretty flawless. There wasn't really any breaks in there. It was just like,
when he threw out the 5-year thing, the 5-year plan, and at the time, that was just we're all sitting here like, what? And I got to thinking about it. And I guess it's kind of like my own experience, as much as, from the time I was 16 years old, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to get to that elite level. And, I made life choices that didn't make that very possible. And that's truth.
Yeah.
I chose, back then, guys, weren't traveling with their families. They weren't homeschooling on the road, and they didn't have campers to stay in. And I chose to stay home with the kids. I didn't want to miss that time, and I do not regret that at all. But after experiencing that with Maddie last week, it just blew me away that someone that young is thinking 5 years and maybe getting out. And I wondered why, and I've thought about it. As much as I wanted to get to that level, I think I enjoy this part of it as much as I would have the competition. I think I enjoy, I don't want to say telling the story or, just the covering it and experiencing it and telling others about it. I think that's where Maddie's head is. He went to film school. He tried to be an actor. I think he's more interested in telling the story than making the story or inspiring the story.
I think you're
being the story.
I think you can't. You're not too far off. I think that's pretty decent. I think that's a decent assumption.
Brad asked this question the other day, and I tried to Google it, and I probably saw something shiny and clicked on something else. Brad asks, who was the Kansas angler when Kershaw won the BNC?
Don't worry, Brad. It wasn't me.
Well, unfortunately, those records were probably tossed by one. I'm not going to call him out. He doesn't work for Bass anymore, but I'd love to. He was an ESPN guy, and there was a time when they just purged all those records, and they didn't show. And we talked a little bit about this on the show the other day, where the nation championship and the nation regionals and stuff don't count towards an angler's career winnings, because they don't keep them, and they haven't kept them, and they purged all. They can't now because they purged it all and they don't know.
Yeah.
So they, even if they wanted to, they couldn't go back and do it. Maybe somebody could find out somewhere. I have, and I don't know if I took them when I left or not. I probably didn't. I know I didn't, because they didn't let me clean out my desk to that extent. So I had all that. I did. I personally had all that. And I had it on my Bass computer, but I don't now. I had and I made sure I updated it. I had every classic contender, every nation qualifier since the beginning, all the way through the present time when I was there.
Wow.
And I didn't, and they may have it. I could maybe text Hank and see if he's got it, because he probably does. Hank probably has it. We can probably find out that he wouldn't have been in the classic. Remember, because there was only six back then. There's 5 or 6 representatives of the nation or the federation back then in the classic, and Brian was one of them. So there was a central representative. It could have been a Kansas guy, but I don't think it was, that fished when Kershaw was there. But there was a Kansas representative.
Yeah, at the BNC. Yeah, Brad's asking about the BNC.
I'm not even sure the BNC was. It may have been a different format, because they went through some different formats. There was a period of time where they just had a regional where the top guy from each state. I remember going with Mike Blaha to Fort Gibson, and there was only 12 anglers fishing, and the winner got to go to the classic representing the Central Divisional.
Golly, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. So there was like a regional, and there was like a regional, or like a state. Each state picked their winner, and then that didn't last very long. That only lasted a couple years. But I remember going with Mike Blaha to that as a co-angler, as a non-bird. You had to bring like an observer, and then there was a period of time where it was just, your regional winner went straight to the classic from the Central Regional time period. And then the BNC came into fruition in the I'd have to think about that, when it was actually, when the first one was. It was in the 90s.
Well, just for your information, in 1994, I was 6 years old. So
you can suck it. Yeah. You were how old?
6.
Jeez.
I was Max's age, 94.
94, I was 24.
Yeah. You guys didn't have to worry about me competing.
Yeah.
Brad says,
we'll have to do some research. We might be able to find that out.
That is a really interesting question.
oh, and Jack Graves, of course, was born in 94. Brad also says, I joined KBN in 2003. So he's wondering if it might have been Carrie or Dennis or Scott. I would say that Carrie would be a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
Probably around that time.
What about the guys from my neck of the woods, the Stongs or the Clay or any of them guys, southeast Kansas natives?
They didn't really participate that much.
Okay.
Kind of like now. I mean, it was the boundaries were Western guys and Eastern guys.
Yeah.
Eklund, maybe. I don't think so, though. Doc Bond went a few times, but I think that was after Kershaw.
The best fisherman in the state of Kansas that I can think of is name's Jason Baird. I mean, was he around back in 94?
No.
No.
He was a little guy. Mike Edrington was.
Yeah, could have been Mike.
Was. I don't know. I'll do some research and see if I can get that answer for you, Brad.
Please do, because that's a really cool question.
I'll have to see if they saved that stuff. I hope they did.
Club statistics are hard enough to keep. I can't imagine Bassmaster statistics, but hopefully they held on to that stuff, because that's information that can go away pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of clicking.
Brandon?
I'm not clicking anything. I got chewed out last time.
Yeah, Moody says Carrie. Brent, what are you saying? 1993. And Brandon, what are you saying? Because they didn't link this year. I mean, I don't remember. Hell, I don't remember before last week, but we didn't link this year.
He might be talking about Oklahoma.
Oh, that could be.
They might still require you to fish with it.
I'm kind of thinking that Brandon is talking about the boater co-angler situation at the regional or the Bass Nation Championship.
And they don't make you fish they don't make you link at the regional.
Well, he says not in regionals, but in state events, so it must be an Oklahoma thing.
Yeah, that's true. There are a lot of things like that, Brandon, that
Cecil Kingsley is a good. I'm sorry.
But yeah, Brandon, that could be just a state thing.
Yeah.
That's really, there's a lot of latitude given to the states to do that. I mean, to set it up however they want to. Yes, we used to do that in Kansas. And actually I did that for 6 years.
Mr. Bass.
But yeah, we're not doing it anymore.
I don't know how deep in the woods you guys want to go.
There's still states that do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brandon, but they can do what they want pretty much. And at the regionals, they don't make you fish if they don't, because they can't. If they don't have enough non-boaters, which they don't. They had not even close to being equal at the regionals.
Oh, no worries, Brent.
How deep in the woods you guys want to go with the Bass Nation in its current state? But like we've talked, the decisions that Bassmaster has made in the last year with the format and the changes in the everybody can buy in deal has not helped the bass clubs a whole lot.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, I'm probably one of the few that enjoys the new format, but I wish it was some kind of mix of old and new, because it absolutely kills the club. No question whatsoever. Because what it does, geez, Kyle, now I'm practicing for November.
But that's, I mean, it's a real situation that we really have kind of tiptoed around the tulips about, to be honest.
Well, and it's like, how do you promote? Because I'm facing that myself personally with taking over for our tournament director for this fall. When those guys that are interested in competing and moving on as individuals, and they don't have to join a state nation, they just have to pay their national membership and fish an open regional. How do you promote your state nation? I mean, it used to be, okay, well, you promoted it. This is how you get to the classic. Well, now it's almost like you've got to spin that around because I'm promoting it. So I'm thinking as promoter.
Absolutely.
It's almost like you've got to spin it to where, well, you didn't make the open regional, man, join our state, fish our state qualifier. It's a second chance.
It's a second chance.
Yeah.
And it's only a what if deal.
Yeah. But Hi, buddy.
Max.
It
takes a lot.
Well, it's like it's the almost a year ahead thing too. See, I have guys that want to fish our Melbourne qualifier next month that think or thought, before I explained it to them personally, that thought, well, if I make the top 6, then I go to Grand for the BNC. No. You're
Next
qualifying year for 2025.
That's right.
A year ahead of time. Now that's cool because you have a year to prepare. You have a year to save. You have a year to,
pick
read maps and vacation and stuff. But
yeah.
So
I wished that they would have done things a little bit differently. One of the things that I enjoyed the most, and the couple of times I got the opportunity to do it, was being on the state team,
mm-hmm.
being part of a state team. I mean, just qualifying for the state team. I didn't feel like this qualifying for the state team was very easy. State of Kansas and whoever else that hopped into those qualifiers, they're pretty decent fishermen, Mr. Bass, my local bass club, they made a pretty big deal about Mr. Bass in the previous years when they did participate in Mr. Bass.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember fishing a Mr. Bass on Palmy when I was barely old enough to drive, and coming up with somebody just to go with me at that point, and showing up to a tournament where I didn't know anybody from anywhere. Really, I was from Cherryville by myself, and I got a lot of good memories of just fishing Mr. Bass on Palmy that weekend. I mean, we don't even really have a Mr. Bass anymore. I mean, come on, It's the Bass Nation as a whole is pretty daggone neat if you think about it.
Sure it is. Absolutely.
But, John, maybe you can answer this, and I know it's a tough question, but does the Bass Nation really have that much of a voice sometimes in what happens? I don't think they do. I know I could be wrong, but I don't think they do.
A stamp for nation.
And what happens where?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of that good stuff.
They had a voice.
A lot of that good stuff went away, in my opinion.
They had a voice. I don't know if they do anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
And I am too, and I'm not saying all this to cast a shadow. I like being positive and all that, but, like I said, Mr. Bass was an experience for a young guy like me. There's not a whole lot of people that are going to be able to experience that anymore. One angler, the deal with our bass club that year, all them years, was if you won Angler of the Year, you got first pick. You got to go to Mr. Bass. If you wanted to go to Mr. Bass, it was all yours for the taking. Well, I was young. I didn't win Angler of the Year all the time in them years. I won Angler of the Year that year, and I said, "Where's it at?" I said, "Pond de Terre over in Missouri." So where's that at? East of Stockton. I said, "Sign me up. Let's go have some fun." Got me somebody to go with me. Went over there and it was 15 foot high and fished in barbecue grills and picnic tables for 2 days. I flipped whatever I could see. I mean, it had a blast. Kind of halfway, felt like I maybe even had a chance to qualify for something, but got beat. Skip Hutchison was the tournament director, I believe.
They did get first place.
I did not get first place. What a chance. But like I said, it was a good time. It's like, do I like the direction some of these tournament circuits are going? Sure. But the prestige of some of the things and I can ramble on and on, but I hate to make this statement, but I'm going to make it because we're on this subject. I've been the president of the Cherryville Bassmasters since I was 17 years old, and the bass clubs are going away. I got a feeling some of the reasons we just got done talking about, the bass clubs are dwindling. And we are one of the unfortunate clubs that we're not getting replenished like we need to be. We're maybe doing something wrong. I have no idea. And maybe some of my club members need to open their minds a little bit and get creative on some stuff. Like the team event we had earlier this year, different things like that. Maybe we need to do some different stuff. I'm not going to say we don't. But some of the decisions Bassmasters made for qualifying events, Mr. Bass, this and that, it's definitely not helping anyhow. You know, if you can just pay your money and fish, what good is it to join the Cherryville Bassmasters? So, sorry, I rendered you guys silent.
No, not at all.
Give
Not
her
at all.
for a tournament.
You know, it's the thing that that drove me to volunteer to take it back for the rest of the season. And I want to make it absolutely clear to all of you guys, I will not be tournament director after October 13th.
You're clear, bud. Loud and clear. Heard you.
Really?
And I'm not going to be the tournament director for the qualifier. Travis Birch will be tournament director for the qualifier, because technically I can't hold two offices under our bylaws at KBN. Anyway, where I'm going with this, what moved me to go forward, for all the negativity about individual qualifying and the changes and
It's glitching a little.
yada yada. Man, the team series. So many people don't even realize there's a classic berth in the team series. They don't realize that. And it's difficult. Anything like that is going to be difficult. But you fish the team series this year, you win the state, you go to the national in December on Washita. You make the third or fourth day. I can't remember if it's the 3-day or 4-day cut.
2-day.
It's okay. They cut after
tournament. 2-day tournament, and then the top 3 teams stay on to your team championship, unless they've changed it, which I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
But unless they've changed it, you fish 2 days, they crown champion, and then the top 3 teams, first, second, and third, stay on for 2 more days, and those 6 anglers fish individually to see who goes to the classic for 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the opportunity is still there, fellas. I'm not saying it's not. The opportunity to be able to be on a big stage in front of a lot of people and enjoy that moment, like some of the guys we've just recently talked to. I mean, it's still doable for an average Joe like us. 100%.
Oh yeah.
I'm not
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, not to go too deep in the woods or anything, but I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Some of my best, I wouldn't be where I'm not. How do I say this? I would not be where I am today as a fisherman without a bass club.
Yeah.
Me personally, I wouldn't. I mean, if it wasn't for my bass club being who they were and are still, the remaining members, the guys that originally took me fishing and showed me cool stuff at the boat ramp and treated me like they treated me, I'd be playing golf.
I mean, ultimately, the Mark Moody, yes, there are a million choices out there, but none of those choices will get you a spot in the Bassmaster Classic. None of them. Not Nichols, not Skeeter, not Joe Bass, well, Joe Bass might, because that's a team series.
Team series.
But none of those. But not like the nation. That's one spot. Team series gets one spot. The nation gets 3. So none of those choices that everybody says there's too many choices out there, none of those take you to the Classic. Very few of them take you. I don't want to say none of them. Very few of them take you to the Classic. You got to go through the team series if you're going to do that, like Ozark Mountain Team Trail or whatever. But again, that's one. You got one shot. You got to win, be in the top so many of the Joe Bass, and then you got to win there. Then you got to go to the championship, and you got to win that to go to the Classic.
I think I know what Mark's saying, because we've spent some time talking about this here recently, because it's been weighing pretty heavy on my mind, to be honest. Mark is saying, I think there's just a lot of tournaments for guys to fish.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. There's a ton of stuff to fish, and unless you want to make it to the Classic, there's no reason for you to join the Federation.
Yep,
that's what he's saying, and I agree with that. But if you have a desire to make it to the Bassmaster Classic, the nation gives you 4 opportunities.
Yep,
4, and you don't have to. You have to fish against 25 teams in the nation versus how many you guys fishing against in Joe Bass?
Yeah, I mean in the championship,
so that's the difference. That's the difference, and the regional, just letting anybody come, is going to destroy all the clubs. I know Danny wants to promote it where you go to the regional and then you fish your state for a second chance. I believe it has, in order to grow your clubs, in order to grow your states, it's got to be the other way around. You must fish your state championship and your state qualifier, whatever. And if you don't make it through your state, then you can go fish the nation regional and just throw your money in.
As a last chance.
As a second chance, if there's room.
Right.
If there's availability, which there's going to be. That puts the emphasis on the state level to have a good tournament and send people directly to the nation championship. And yes, Brandon, you can send people directly to the nation championship through the state. However many the state of Kansas gets, 6, whatever. Brandon, I don't know if you're talking Kansas or Oklahoma, Brandon, but Oklahoma, and I've got some friends in the Oklahoma Bass Nation and have for a long time, but Oklahoma, since the Robert Cartledge days, have never been a strong nation, ever. Because it was always, under Robert, it was always kind of a good old boys club, and they tried to keep it that way. And I don't think they've ever got away from that. Where other states, when Oklahoma was having 20 or 30 or 40 boat tournaments for their state qualifiers, Kansas was having 100 boat tournaments back in the day. And the clubs, I belong to Salina Bassmasters, and back in the day, and I know we can talk all day about how it used to be, but I'm just telling you, for those of you that don't know how it used to be, in the Salina Club, we had 40 members or so, and then we had. And there was a 6, and the state qualifiers were a 6-man team. And you fished your tail off in the Salina Bassmasters for the whole season to try to be the top 6, the top 3 boaters and top 3 non-boaters. Why? Because then the Salina Bassmasters paid your entry fees into the state qualifier, and you wanted to be team number 1. And if you may, and if we and Salina sent 3 teams, you'd be team A. You got your entry fees paid. Team B, the next 6 guys in line were team B, and the next 6 line were in team C. And you work your tail off every year to be on that team A.
Thank you, John.
And
Wow.
the year that we went away from the 6-man team was the year the numbers in the state qualifier started going down. And that's just fact.
Sometimes all it takes is a little advice from the season to have a great idea.
So, I don't know. Danny got me fired up Monday on this same exact subject, and I tried to keep calm tonight.
I did not mean to go down this rabbit hole, fellas, but
That's all right.
I'm a passionate guy when it comes to bass clubs, and
I got fired up. Danny didn't get me fired up. I'll tell you what got me fired up.
I was sitting here like, what in the hell is he talking
What
about?
got me fired up was Bassmaster starts running this ad about Brian Kershaw. And you've probably all seen it. And they ran the ad about what the clubs mean, and Iconelli's on there talking about the clubs and blah, blah, blah. Mind you, this is after we've had 2 nation championships anglers on our podcast talking about the Brian Kershaw month. All of a sudden it shows up on their website that they're celebrating. Where was this at the beginning of July?
yeah, oh snap, we forgot. That's what happens.
So that got me fired up that they're talking about the clubs and how important the clubs are in this video. And whoever put up that video probably doesn't even realize that what they have done is destroying the clubs. So now they're talking about how important the clubs are, but we're going to do regionals where you don't have to be in a club to fish them.
Dude,
That got me fired up.
Sure.
got me fired up.
It's
Some of the best people I'll ever meet in my life was in my bass club. Period. Some of the best people I ever meet in my life was because of my bass club. I mean, let's face it. We share the same interests. We share the same hobby. We've got stuff in common to talk about. I mean, that's the whole basis of a friendship, if you want to talk about that.
I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't know Mark Moody. I wouldn't know any of you guys. Brad Van Riet. I wouldn't even know Brandon Ackerson if it wasn't for the club that I got in back in 1987 or 88.
It's kind of a big deal.
It's all tied together.
You got guys that come from all walks of life. Bass clubs don't, our bass club, speaking for mine, we don't discriminate. Guys used to bring their wives to the club tournaments. They'd bring their sons or dads or whoever they wanted to. You got to fish with somebody you ain't never fished before, with. Have a 8-hour conversation about who knows what. Sometimes it wasn't even about fishing. You draw a non-boater and all they wanted to talk about was selling auto parts. I mean, you never know.
The team,
it's just
Kansas was always, all the clubs in Kansas, at least back in the day, were draw club tournaments. Mainly because they're lakes at the time had like 18-inch length limits on them. You know, some of them still do 15-inch, and most clubs were paper clubs. And the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks had a beautiful, came up with a beautiful, the inches and equals 15 inches equals 230 points or whatever it is, 2.3 pounds or something like that. And so all the clubs used that, and that's just how it was in Kansas. Was you drew, I was a non-boater in the Salina Club for 4 or 5 years until I got good enough at the fishing that I started to beat the guys out of the back of the boat. And then the old timers were like, time for you to buy a boat.
Get out.
Time for you to get out of the back of the boat. And that's the way it was. And that's how you got started. And, that's all gone. All the team stuff has destroyed that. You moved to Alabama. I moved to Alabama, and there are no draw clubs in Alabama. Maybe one. I think Lee Bird belongs to one, or maybe Eddie Clemens, the president, because he's been in it for so long that their club still draws. But out of 50, 60, 70 clubs in Alabama, there's probably 2 or 3 that are still draw club tournaments because everybody wants to fish with their buddy. Nobody wants to show anybody their fishing holes or what they're using or how to use live scope or anything else, where back in the day you used to teach people how to do that. You
gotta have a different. That's what chaps me so much about a club tournament is if you're fishing a club tournament, please look at it. Have a different mentality. I mean, come on. It's a club tournament.
I want to beat Brian Failer as bad as anybody, or you.
I get that.
But I don't have a problem telling you how I'm catching the fish.
That's it. That's everybody. Yeah. It's just the way I see it. Have a different mentality when you're fishing a club tournament. You draw a non-boater. That's kind of one of the things that something else that I was requested to talk about a little bit kind of relates to that. But you draw a non-boater in these bass club tournaments in a draw, style event. Those guys are not going to a club tournament to fish as a non-boater necessarily because they want to draw out with you. They're going to a club tournament as a non-boater sometimes because they want to go bass fishing and they don't care. And the bass club offers them an opportunity to go bass fishing. So we don't have to get up on the bank and treat them like we're trying to keep all of our secrets. We don't have to treat them like they're from, Mars and they're an alien. We don't have to hide everything from them. I mean, I guess if you do hide everything from them, maybe you're scared they're going to beat you. Unfortunately, maybe they can. I don't know. That's another conversation to have. But we've had some phenomenal non-boaters. I really wish that I will have a special guest. The special guest tonight was my son, but
he was super special. He was a super special.
The super special guest tonight was my son. The special guest that I had planned to have on, he, come down with a sickness and he wasn't able to come on tonight, but we will get there. And he's one of the best co-anglers I've ever seen. And he will absolutely stomp your rear end from the back of the boat. Some of the guys are really good at being co-anglers. But
I got to grab the charger cord. I'll be right back.
But you don't have to treat your co-anglers like they're going to beat you. Because guess what? It's a club tournament, and they're there just to have as much fun as you are.
Well, I drew that guy at the ABA, the overzealous guy.
Yeah. Yeah, the overzealous guy.
But honestly, if he hadn't caught 3 fish before I caught any, and lit a fire under my butt and tipped me off a little bit to what they were doing, I may not have got second place at that tournament.
Never know.
I know I wouldn't have, probably, because I would have kept on doing the same damn thing I was doing.
Some of the best conversations I've ever had in my life was because I drew a non-boater that didn't know me from anybody, and I didn't know him from anybody, and I knew that I could just start rambling, and he wasn't going to judge me. You know, drew a guy and that's honest. I mean, I drew a guy in a regional tournament on Gunnersville from way up north. I mean, he's from way up north. And we still chat back and forth on Facebook to this day. And I read Brad's comment. You know,
I think we've missed the boat.
I
think we've missed the boat on Brad's comment. I think that's one of the big giant places that we've missed the boat on.
He said it's like a family reunion.
Oh, I'm talking about the next comment where he talks about the youth. I think we have missed the boat on all these high school kids. Why aren't they coming to the clubs and going fishing and going fishing out of the back of the boat? Why? Because they are being taught. They're not being taught a lot of ethics and not. I'm not talking about people like Brad Van Riet who knows the ethics. I'm talking about there's a lot of new dads and new grandpas and uncles and stuff that never owned a boat before that don't know any of the ethics and they've never been taught. So they take their kids fishing and that part is not getting taught. But somehow, when we've got 60 boats or whatever it is fishing the high school, that's 120 kids. That's 120 kids that somehow we've missed the opportunity to get them in the back of a boat at a state qualifier. And I don't know why they won't. They need.
I think I might know why. One of the reasons why I think I don't want to speak for everybody. But
throw it out there.
We're talking about 16-year-old kids because you got to be 16 to fish the nation championship and the nation regional. So we probably don't have that many.
How many?
No, we don't have 120, but half. Let's say half of them are 16 or better. Why can't we get those kids?
How many high school principals do you guys know? How many high school counselors do you guys know? Superintendents. I mean, any administration whatsoever. I mean, what kind of effort have any bass clubs? And this is a general question. I mean, how much effort has any of the bass clubs around put into soliciting participation? Hey, we're the Cherryville Bass Masters. We got a little bit of a flyer. Can you pass this around during seminar, or can you pass this around? It's no different than what the Boy Scouts do, or the Girl Scouts, or whatever clubs or this or that. It's no different.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong. Kyle. I think what John was really meaning, those kids that are already involved and that are
Already
already
involved.
fishing the
Yeah.
youth events, somewhere we don't make the bridge between
Or
high school
college. Or
or
college.
college. The college kids are just off on their own plane, man. They they are on their own planet. But we don't make that bridge between those 16 to 22-year-olds joining the clubs. If you think about it, especially my own experience, most of the kids that you have seen in your clubs at Salina, Sandhills, and Hutch, um, well, you yourself in Cherryvale, the kids that come and join the clubs are kids of adult members.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe once in a while they get a buddy to come fish.
And we can't seem to retain them.
And we can't, and I don't know why that is. I even the last 2 seasons that I was officially tournament director, and I'm going to use the term officially for Brad because Brad's going to message me again about the bylaws and right and wrong and keeping me on the straight and narrow.
Brent,
The
I don't know
last,
where you're coming up with
the,
that $100 at, but that's wrong. Not for here.
well, yeah, it is $100. Anyway, for the last 2 seasons that I was tournament director, I had the good fortune of having, well, we had a sponsor director that was active at that time, Chad Schmidt. Chad actually set up for lack of a better word, a scholarship program for that purpose. He got a sponsor to be willing to pay the entry fee for any kid 16 and over that wanted to fish as a non-boater. And that was partly because we were starting to lose non-boaters. So we got some more through that recruitment. But that's gone away too.
It takes
Since I left.
somebody stepping up.
Yeah, it does. It is a crap ton of volunteer work.
It's fun though.
It is.
It's fun because
once in a while they're back.
What happens? What would you say, Danny, John, if you recruited somebody to your bass club, a young guy, and he was to make it to the Bassmasters Classic?
Unbelievable.
I mean, it's a big what if, but I think it'd be pretty neat.
I can't speak to that level, but young man that we may have as a guest in the coming weeks or months, I often held his hand and got him entered, got him to the Derby. He usually traveled with an older gentleman that helped him out tremendously. But I can remember a time or two around motel when Nana Wendy made sure that he had something to eat and made sure that he had stuff to take in the boat the next morning. And we watched that young man win $20,000 in his first event as a professional last spring, and cloud nine, man.
Mm-hmm.
Cloud nine. It's an unbelievable feeling, and it's as much as we want to sit and complain that things are different, I would hate to think that opportunity is dwindling for some of those other kids that haven't had the same set of circumstances. Maybe they have the want to, but they don't have those circumstances. Because you yourself, Kyle, last week mentioned after Maddie left the show that it takes a special set of circumstances at times to be successful.
I believe so.
In order to be a part of those circumstances, you have to lay the groundwork yourself. And the want to and the opportunity, man, it just kills me that maybe some of those opportunities are not necessarily, dwindling, but changing.
I think there's a lot of truth to that statement. In my situation, unfortunately, my bass club's starting to age a little bit. Early on, my bass club members were a little bit more active. We had a little bit more involvement, and we had some more opportunities to talk about the bass club and what we were about. We have some reach now. Facebook, I believe, is, it definitely reaches some people and stuff, but does it reach the right people? I don't know. John, you had a hell of an idea. If we can figure out a way to help with the participation by maybe paying an entry into a qualifier if you have a certain amount of success or this or that, that's a heck of an idea. So,
I think most clubs used to do that back in the day. It wasn't just Salina. I think most clubs used to pay their however many they decided in their club, and that was something worth fishing for all year long, was getting your way paid. Salina didn't just pay the entry fee for the top team. I think for the top team, it was entry fee and some gas money. And then maybe the second team was just entry fee. And then the third team, you were on your own.
How many members was in that bass club when that was going on, John?
I don't know. We probably had 40.
Active members?
Yeah. We'd have a good 15 to 20 boat tournament.
That's cool.
During the heydays. I don't know. Some clubs, to Brent's point, Salina charges $100 now because I'm guessing Brent can maybe speak to this, why it's $100, because the state dues are still 30, right? And the national dues are 30, so that's 60. I guess maybe the club gets a $40 dues, and some clubs probably do that because their numbers are dwindling and they feel like they got to raise their money through dues, which to me is backwards. To me, that's backwards. To me, you lower the entry fees. You lower when you try to get volume, you try not to price people out. They're not joining your club because maybe it's $100.
Our membership fee for the year is $20, and our club tournaments are $40 entry.
Your membership's 20, but if you join the nation, it would be another 30, so it would be 50.
Right.
But 50, I mean,
So,
Good conversation.
not taking an exit, but we're going around the corner. We're going around a curve. I'm going to throw something else at you. So the largest clubs in Kansas, I'm just talking about Kansas, the largest clubs, the most active, vibrant clubs are running their own team series circuit.
I can believe that.
So it's literally like, I'm not going to say the names of the clubs. You can probably figure that out quickly. But you know, they're big enough that they don't have to depend on KBN to have a team series. They're affiliating with Bass Team Series and running their own deal. That's how they run their club tournaments. You pick your partner for the year, and you're fishing the team series at the same time you're fishing the club tournament. And then, you know, the points champions go on to national, and they get a little gas money and a little extra boot from the club to do that. So
you know what I
cool.
want back. We used to have, and it was so much fun, a club challenge is what we called it. And the Cherryville Bassmasters would team up. The Chanute Bassmasters would team up.
Yeah, we used to do that too.
Parsons Bassmasters would team up, and we would have a tournament called the Club Challenge.
A lot of clubs did that.
Yeah.
Salina, McPherson, Hutch. You know, Salina, McPherson used to do that every year, and then I think Hutch maybe Sandhills got involved there a few times. But I know Salina and McPherson did it every year.
You talk about a. It was almost as much fun as the Frank Stong tournament, man. I mean, it was a good time.
And you tried to, you know, Salina might provide 12 or 15 boats, and they had to come up, and then McPherson the same amount, and you had to have non-boaters, and the non-boaters from Salina fished with the non-boaters from McPherson, and it was a blast.
Yeah, good times. We used to have ours. Man, it was a good time.
I mean, there was a lot of stuff that went on that I don't know where it went. I just don't. I mean, the Salina Club we used to have our wives fish a tournament. We'd do it on a small lake like Harrington. We'd always go to Harrington, and you'd bring your wife, and your wife would go with another, wouldn't go with you. But the ladies were the only ones fishing. Now the guys threw in a side pot for whatever. If I guided my, Jody Fanninstill's wife to the win, I got a little pot. So there was something in it for me to not just take her out in the middle where she couldn't beat my wife, And we'd cook out, and we'd stuff like that once a year. And then at the end of the year, the Angler of the Year party was a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal. Like if you won Angler of the Year, you hosted the party, and it was a party. I mean, it was fun. Those were the good
I can
days.
attest to that.
Yeah.
We're since we're rambling on about club stuff and for an hour.
I love it. I love it.
It's cool. Yeah, this is awesome. This is what this is for.
I love it.
You know, because I love the fact that we can talk to the other members like this. But something that we did in Sand Hills that I loved, we did a parking lot tournament. We would go to like Stockton, Kansas, one motel. We'd rent the whole motel, you know, all 10 rooms, and we'd stay there for the weekend. You would we drew partners on Friday night, and you could go, you had your choice of at Stockton, Webster's like 15 minutes, Kerwin was like 20 minutes, or it was about 45-ish minutes to Norton or Sebelius back then. So you and your partner decide which lake you want to fish, bring your score sheet, be back in the parking lot at 4 p.m. Whoever, you could fish all 3 lakes if you wanted to drive around in a circle. And there were a lot of times we fished 2 of the 3. But the guys that won on Saturday picked where everybody went on Sunday.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. That was a blast. And we caught a butt ton of fish too.
we used to do about the only time the Salina Club fished Big Hill, because it's like 4 hours, whatever. But we'd go there once a year, but it'd be a 2-dayer. And remember, there was a little motel right across the street from the bar.
Oh my God!
Yes.
Yeah.
Not.
Oh yeah.
God, what was that thing called? Like the Evergreen or something like that?
We'd stay there.
Come on.
We'd stay there, and I remember one tournament we had like 2 rooms for
$5
18 guys.
$5 a piece.
I mean, there were friggin' guys everywhere playing on the floor. And of course, Blaha, and he wouldn't come home from the bar across the street until 3 a.m. I mean, we came home at like 1 a.m, and he came out at 3.
It was probably more sanitary than the place you were staying. I mean, Jiminy Christmas.
I mean, it was, yeah.
Whew. Good times.
I mean, we used to, I mean, I think that's part of what's missing from the clubs, is that they don't do stuff like that anymore to attract, the non-hardcore tournament fishermen. Everybody's freaking going to win the Bassmaster. We're going to go to Wilson this weekend and we're going to fish, and the winner is going to the Classic. No, the winner's not going to the Classic.
The winner's going to win $50.
And we didn't even fish for money.
Yeah.
Back then.
We didn't either.
To answer Dominic's question, we didn't even fish for money. It was straight up plaques, and we did have entry fees, and then we had a chart that had every lake in Kansas on it and mileage, and you would just take whatever the gas price was over down one side, and however many miles was across or Wilson, whatever lake you were going to was across the top, and you'd go down like this, and it'd tell you how much the non-boater fee was. And there was no discussing. Like, the non-boater fee is $35. Oh, and the non-boater would pay their boater $35. He could give them extra if he wanted to, and we didn't fish for money. We fished for plaques. And we did have an entry fee that went in the year end. Our last tournament of the year, all the money that we've been putting in all year long, we would have a money tournament that was paid out in two different ways. You could win by being the boat, having the most boat weight, and then you could win as for the boater and the non-boater. There was three pots. There was three pots: a boat weight, a boater pot, and a non-boater pot at that final year. But all that money came from, the whole season, and you didn't. It was a pride thing, and trying to make the top six where you got your entry fees paid to the regional or to the state qualifier. And we'd do stuff like we talked about this the other day. We'd do a whole course. We'd go to Harrington and divide that lake up into 8 holes, and we'd fish each hole for an hour and meet out in the middle, and we'd put $5 in a pot each hour, and you'd meet out in the middle. The guy with the biggest fish took the pot, and you move on to the next hole. Put your money,
sweet.
Put your $5 back in, move on to the next hole. Everybody rotate. And, it was that stuff like that was fun. And
yeah,
I don't think clubs do that anymore, or the majority of the clubs don't do that anymore. I would guess that the clubs that have big numbers are still doing fun stuff like that. May not be exactly that, but I bet they're doing fun stuff like that.
Going back to what I was saying about the larger ones in Kansas that, running their own team series, they do that. They set up lodging for everybody. So everybody's staying in the same place, and they're all grilling and drinking beer, and they promote themselves and get the camaraderie that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we could just do that at the state level.
That's not a lot of your bigger clubs do that. I know Lakeland Bassmasters in Florida, who has about 100 members, and that's where the Lane brothers came from, and they run their own team series.
You guys officially just made me feel like a really terrible club president, so I appreciate that. I walked myself into it.
You're welcome.
Why?
I walked right into it, and it's all good.
Well, you can't be a terrible
we just
club
gave you
president.
We just gave you a bunch of ideas.
I really like them. I really like them. I'm not going to lie. And I'm glad we've had this conversation on kind of a week off or whatever from the nitty-gritty kind of cool stuff, because these kind of conversations, they got to happen in order for people to understand what this podcast is about, in order for people to understand how passionate we are about the Kansas Bass Nation and the club level stuff. You can't be hiding in the weeds, fellas.
No.
It's all for love of the game.
I would almost be willing to have one podcast over just what it means for each one of us to be a part of a bass club, because that's where I'm at. I love it. Absolutely love it. So every single one of the club members that I've seen come and go, the ones that I've seen go were just wish they were still here, honestly. Yeah. Every single one of them.
And I just think we're missing, you got to mix in some of the fun stuff. Back in the day, we've named some of the guys that were in that Salina club. John Eklund. He won the All-American.
Yeah.
$100,000. Mike Blahall, Doc Bond Fishing Nation Championship, Jason Baird, all those guys, it wasn't. I don't want to sound like the Salina Bass Club wasn't friggin' cutthroat trying to beat each other, because we absolutely were. But then when he came off the water after the club tournament, and then when next weekend when we had the family picnic, we let all that stuff go. Or when we had the whole tournament, that was fun. We fished just as hard as anybody and wanted to beat each other's brains in, and still do. I mean, that's part of it. That's part of what the competition that we all love. Some of us are a little more competitive than others, Kyle. But I mean, we can have fun once the tournament's over. Do something different.
Yep. I agree.
Well, whatever we do at Big Hill, Max is in charge of hot dog wrangling.
He likes the food, boys. I'm not gonna lie. He likes to eat. He might be skinny. He might be a runt, but you catch him he ain't gonna pass up a good hot dog. I promise you. He wants to make sure he's fed too.
Just wait about 10 years. Put like $3 a week aside now.
Well, I'll tell you fellas one thing. If he decides not to fish with his dad when he gets older, it is what it is.
Just don't let him play soccer.
But no, I don't. Arma's not going to probably offer that, so we're good.
Good, you're safe. Good.
But
soccer's the sport that all the kids that can't play baseball, football, and basketball go play, right?
Yes.
I cringed when Nicole said Brooks was playing soccer this summer. Luckily, he didn't like it too much.
This podcast is something that we all, even us three, can reflect back on years from now and go, hey, we were on a 2-hour podcast talking about bass clubs. Years from now, hopefully I can be saying, hey, Max, I challenged you when you got to be, 10 years old or whatever, to not be a golfer. I wanted you to be a fisherman. And so today is proof. I don't want him playing golf.
I mean, golf is if you're going to do anything other than fishing, there's some money in golfing now.
Yeah, no, it's like throwing a dagger in my side, though. If I need a good nap,
I had to pick a sport for my grandkids to get really dang good at, golf would be it.
Money talks and, BS walks, but I'm good.
Hey, what was it that we were going to talk about tonight?
We were going to talk about.
We did like an hour and 20 minutes on bass clubs.
Dude, it's
and that was after 30 minutes of fixing everything wrong with Bass Nation.
It's something that I could ramble on about for another hour and 20 minutes. To be honest,
I know. I hear you.
We didn't come close to fixing Bass Nation.
Nope.
But you know what?
We were going to talk about fishing from the bank and pond fishing.
We can save that.
We can save that for next week.
Maybe I'll have a guest next week, a super special guest.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
I'm just hoping I can find the internet to get on next week. And I'll probably be on my phone, too, because I'll probably have to leave this laptop here. But
it's all good.
Hopefully, I'll have good service.
Bring that special guest on. Take him fishing.
Her.
Take her fishing.
Recent event winner, too.
Big fish winner.
Yeah, big fish.
I'm taking my very special guest fishing Monday, the day before he has to start his first day of kindergarten.
Mm.
And we're going to go to Big Hill and we're going to rip some lips.
Take him somewhere where he can catch some fish.
South of the bridge or north of the bridge, boss?
I was thinking like Bone Creek. Or somewhere easy.
Well, he's instructed me that he wants to catch. He's dead set on catching one of them toothy critters.
So he wants a walleye.
We're going to go chase walleye on Big Hill on Monday. So I'm going to have to go get some night crawlers from Albert's Marine and maybe some minnows.
Yeah.
And we're going to go chase walleye and see if we can't bring back dinner.
There you go.
Danny, you going to go give that newborn grandbaby a hug, or what's up?
Oh, probably so. I had to share with the two grandmas this afternoon. So that, I didn't.
That's hard. That's hard to compete with.
Didn't get in there much. So I'm proud of my kid. I didn't have this opportunity. I don't know if you guys did. So Connor, whoops, I about flipped that over. So Connor cut the cord. I was really proud of him for doing that. I wasn't offered that opportunity.
Me neither. They didn't do that for us old guys back in the day.
Kyle's being quiet.
When Max was born, Emily had a C-section. I stood up for approximately 2 or 3 minutes and decided that wasn't a very good idea. So I sat back down behind the curtain, and she taught the anesthesiologist his sons, all 3 of his children, actually. She taught them in first grade at Lakeside in Pittsburgh. And he said, Kyle, I think it'd be a good idea if you sit down. I said, yes, sir. I think that's great. So I sat down behind the blue curtain and smiled at Emily as she was carrying on and didn't know what was going on. The second go around, I watched the whole thing happen, and my daughter, it was like watching a scary movie of the Gremlins or something. She just come out of nowhere. It was crazy. I watched the whole thing. No, I did not cut the cord. No, I wasn't asked to cut the cord. I saw the cord get cut and did everything I could to keep everything that I had ate for breakfast in. And was told don't turn around unless you want to see it all. And I didn't turn around, went into the hospital scale house or whatever you want to talk to it, and no.
Well, I wondered, if he just whipped out his pocket knife, or if they handed him a scalpel or what. And
kudos to Connor. I can tell you this: it's a life changing. You guys know it already, but it's a life changing event, and it's.
The only thing better
yesterday.
The only thing better, Kyle, is watching your own child hold his own child.
Yes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. That will be hopefully pretty neat.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Now, we're easily into 2 hours and 15 minutes here.
We probably ran off all the viewers, so go ahead.
Oh no, we still got 6 watching. Brad's still here, Dennis still here, Dominic. This is no joke. This is legitimate truth. So it wouldn't be podcast without mentioning Bigfoot or UFOs or something. I swear to you, this is the absolute truth. So we closed out our visit this afternoon, and we're walking out of the hospital out to the parking lot to get in the truck. And parked next to us is a newer Dodge pickup. He's got a custom tag on the front, and I'm hoping that you can see this.
The whole enchilada.
That's funny.
Bigfoot, UFOs, cedar trees, the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I
That's
had
good.
to take that picture. It was a sign.
Excuse me.
Did we answer all the questions?
Boy, I hope so.
You
Oh,
didn't
you know
read-
what? If Jack Graves, if you're still here, I'll just message you what I was going to say about Cedar Bluff, because, man, we don't want to give anybody this hot information.
What club is Jack in?
Jackson, Kansas Bassmasters with Mr. Freilich and Kent
I
Kraft.
just kind of noticed they're coming to Grand in October, and I don't have a single one of them staying here. So, Kansas Masters.
I can't believe you guys.
I don't think so. I mean, let me rephrase. I don't know when it is, but I don't know who's in their club.
More Bass Club talk to come, because we will never quit having this conversation, fellas.
Well, I've been having it with you every year at the Albert show for what, 5 years, 6 years?
Dude, it's something that weighs heavy on my mind once in a while, and I'll never quit having that conversation. I mean, I can't say it enough. If I hadn't joined the club back in the day, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't have the friends. I wouldn't
Same.
have the memories.
None of us would.
That's where it's at now. Is that where it's at now? If you're a serious angler and you want to,
I think that's where we're going. I think that's the disconnect. We're going to get back in this, but I think that's the disconnect. Like what Mark said, there's so much to fish.
it's definitely
Exactly. Yes, there is so much to fish. So if you want to go win big money, if you want to go win big boats, if you want to go do that,
right.
go fish that. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about fishing a club and having fun and doing all kinds of other stuff. And as a bonus, you can make it to the Bassmaster Classic through this club.
That's right.
What date are you looking at, Jack? Because I'm looking at the schedule right now. I just want to make sure I got rooms for you. Might be a moot point. He said he's gonna talk to me soon, but I can at least let him know if we got room.
Just tell you guys a quick story while Jack's coming up with the dates for the room. I'm confident there's only a few people listening to this, so we're good. But a guy that founded the Cherryville Bassmasters, his name was Craig Bassford.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of the founding members, him and Frank.
Yeah.
Him and Frank Stong. Craig was one of the dudes, got me into all kinds of trouble and this and that. He was a likable guy. He was an insurance salesman. So he could talk to a wall as long as it was getting painted. I mean, he was just one of them kind of guys. He had a champion. It was a 203. It had a Mercury EFI on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like the pot calling the kettle black, right? So it was all red, and it had OSU Boomer Sooner all over the back of it. And I'd scrape that off in a heartbeat if he was still around and his boat was still here. But he used to come by the house, man, all the time. Craig always had a fishing story after the tournament. most of the time he didn't catch a ton of fish. You know, he
Caught
was-
every fish in that hog pond 3 times.
he was in his latter years when I met him, unfortunately, and he was already out of his prime. I mean, he had red hooks. He always fished with red hooks, and he'd come in with those stinking red hooks, and they'd be broken half. And he always alleged that he broke those off in the fish's mouth, and he always told the story about how the big one got away. Craig offered to take me fishing as soon as I joined the bass club, and he showed me all kinds of trees on Big Hill that still produce pretty good fish to this day. I'm not gonna lie. There was definitely a rhyme for his reason. He had actually fished Lake Fork for like 23 years in a row. Never caught a 10-pounder. I always give him crap about that. Went with the same 2 or 3 guys. One of them's name was Roger from Independence, just lived down the road from where he lived. But he was a bass clubber through and through. I mean, never, ever said anything crossed. If he was to draw a non-boater in a club, get in, put his 15 rods and 600 pounds of tackle in here, and we'll run her all the way to the log jam kind of guys. That he didn't care. Never held anything back. Always cheering for the guy in the back of the boat to catch a bass.
Mm-hmm.
Always breaking off because he had a stinking cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And when he'd set the hook, the line would get close to the cherry. And I broke a big one off. Well, were you smoking a cigarette at the same time, Craig? Because when you set the hook, the line got too close to the cherry and you burnt your line in half, Mr. Monofilament. Anyways, to the point. When he passed away, unfortunately, he got cancer, passed away. The Bass Club loaded his casket in the front deck of his Champion and rode in his truck to the cemetery.
Frank did the same thing. Yep. They did the same thing with Frank.
So,
Kyle, this November meeting and banquet, KBN meeting and banquet, is going to be in Wichita. Would you drive to Wichita to come to the banquet?
maybe.
Okay. Well, there's a little thing that I started a couple years ago, or we started a couple of years ago, called the Master Class. And it's about people like that.
Yep.
And one of them is, let me get this right on camera. Over there. There's one right there. I'm touching him. OG6 Masterclass. What a way to end tonight. We have run the gambit. We've talked about club members that have been passed for 20 years, and we had a 6-year-old tell us how his dad likes to talk dirty in the boat.
What it's all about.
Next week, if all goes according to plan, we'll have Travis Birch on and see how many irons he has in the fire next week.
Yeah.
To see what new business he has started.
Yep. What bait company he's purchased?
What? Yeah. Exactly.
It'd be a good one.
It will be a good one. Man, guys, y'all maybe we should just have a group some night and get all of these guys on here. I think we can have 10. Wouldn't that be hilarious?
That would be.
I don't know if you get a word in sideways, but I mean, you could try
True.
it.
Very true. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be safe. When it's 75 degrees this Saturday and Sunday, and then next weekend after it's 105 when we're all fishing Wilson. Sorry.
Is that what it's supposed to be?
Here, Hutch is a high of 75 on Saturday and 80 on Sunday.
I thought it was supposed to be like that all week next week.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah. Including the following weekend.
Yes. Hey guys, thanks for watching. We give you your money's worth here at the Idle Zone. We're not one of those 45-minute jobbers where they don't want to talk about anything. We'll talk about literally anything.
Yep. True.
Peace, guys.
Love, peace, and civil.